the dizzy, but we can always share some disease. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to run. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome guys. We are back in the house and it is evening tea time, but where we're heading today, we're going to Singapore and it is morning over there. That is right. We are traveling today. So I just want to thank everybody for joining me this afternoon with Anne. We had an incredible tea time and we talked about acting and all of that good stuff and getting bold in our lives as moms. You know, sometimes we all put the focus on the children and then we forget about ourselves, right? Well, we have dreams and goals too. So we're going to continue that conversation tonight with Laura Yates, and we're going to be serving her tea. And her tea tonight that we are serving is Sharing the Nectar of Life, Nature Lover, and a Joy Igniter. That is the tea we are serving tonight in tonight's house. But before we get started, you guys know how Miss Liz rolls. Go over to all those platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Shopify, here we go again, and YouTube and all of those good platforms and all the podcast apps out there, because Miss Liz is on every single podcast app out there. Give that a like, follow, and subscribe, and get these tea times out there because we can share them. They do make a difference for the guests and for anybody that resonates with the topic. So let's get started with disclaimer and then a beautiful intro, and then we're going to get Laura in here and we're going to serve some tea with you guys this evening and this morning in Singapore. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live shows. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I'm Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own good judgment when considering any action or decision that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners' and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of the discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly on my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com or visit my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome to Tea Time with Miss Liz, where we slow down, breathe deeper, and return to what is real. Today's guest brings us into the body, into the heart, and into the truth of what it means to come back to ourselves after life pulls us away. Please join me in welcoming Laura Yates, founder of the Hummingbird Life, facilitator, space holder, and guide for transformation through lived experience. Laura's journey began in a high-performance corporate world that on the outside looked successful, but on the inside felt disconnected. Through burnout, anxiety, and a deep unraveling, she chose a different path, one rooted in embodiment, nervous system healing, and community. From building global movements, experience like sober dance gatherings, to leading retreats and ceremonies around the world, Laura now creates space where people can reconnect with their bodies, release what they have been holding, and return to a sense of aliveness. Her work reminds us that healing is not something we think our way through, it is something we feel, move, and breathe our ways into. So grab your cup and settle in. Today's tea time is about coming home to yourself one breath at a time. Let me get Laura Yates in here and let's spill some tea. Welcome, Laura.
Hi, Liz. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, afternoon.
Evening, afternoon, morning, wherever we are in the world, right? Well, Laura, let's start with who was Laura as a little girl and who is Laura now?
Wow. Laura as a little girl actually is quite similar to the Laura now before societal influences. So barefoot, usually on the grass. I am a little farm girl. I grew up on an avocado farm in South Africa, in a rural area in South Africa. And I think part of that still lives in me today. I must say I have very supportive parents, but an alcoholic father, which did influence my sense of safety in childhood. But yeah, this tiny little place in South Africa South Africa itself has a very special place in my heart. So, but I've always been outdoors and always dancing and always dressing up, actually. That was definitely, I think half of the kids' photos of me are dressing up and dancing and definitely smothered by dogs.
And you carried that on to who you are today, right? The dancing and playfulness.
Yeah.
So, Laura, if you could explain yourself in 3 words today, how would you describe yourself?
Contrasting, joyful, and woo-woo.
Woo-woo.
Yeah.
I like that. And this is how we break the ice. We get the woo-woo out there.
Yeah. Let's just claim it.
Let's just claim it, right? Let's dance to the beat of the music. Laura, I want to get into your tea before we get a couple of people that are coming in with questions. The tea that you shared with me tonight is Sharing the Nectar of Life, Nature Lover and Joy Igniter. Tell me why you gave me that as your tea.
I think for me, I've always seen a curiosity in life, and the more curious we are, the more we can find how I would call the sweet nectar of life. And it's in the little things, not in the big things, not in the I'll be happy when, all of these, when I tick all these boxes, but actually in the tiny little things, which is why I actually have the Hummingbird Life as my business name and my profile. It's because the hummingbird does fly from flower to flower and then shares the sweet nectar of life with people. And part of that really is around like, what is the sweet nectar for us and how do we find our own inner joy spark? Because joy is something that's different for each and every one of us. But it's about breaking down all those societal norms and all those beliefs. And can we come back to finding the beauty that is within ourselves? Because the beauty we see around us, the sweetness we see around us, especially in nature, the best way to connect to the sweetness is actually a mirror of what's inside us. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Laura, is your sound full blast on your end?
Let me check.
We just have like a little echoing going on.
Yeah, I could hear that. Give me 1 second.
At first, I thought it was a bunch of hummingbirds.
Probably. It's now full blast. Is that better?
Yes, that's better. Oh, we still have like a little echo. What's going on over there? We didn't have that before we went live. I wonder what's going on.
No, we didn't. Let me quickly change something on my side. The dB, is that making any difference? No.
It's still like a little whining sound.
Does that help?
Oh, that's a little bit better. There we go.
Hear you.
So Laura, let's get into the Hummingbird Life. How'd you got the name?
Oh, sorry, I missed the first part. You said, how did I get the name of the Hummingbird Life?
Yes.
So, actually, I've always been a person that loves trying new things. And so as a child, it was, oh, let me learn piano for a year, and then let me do gymnastics for 2 years, and then let me learn something else and something else. And it was seen as something negative. It was, why can't you stick to one thing? And I used to, I still remember this quite clearly, is probably about 10 years ago now, a friend of mine, we were talking about ADHD and whether this is, maybe that's what I've got. This echo is quite crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like a really bunch of birds tweeting over here.
Is that making any difference? No.
That does, and then it comes back.
Mm.
Oh, now I hear myself.
Oh. I clicked on echo cancellation.
I can hear me on your side.
Oh no. Okay. Let's try that. Better?
There we go.
Okay.
Oh, I can still hear myself.
Oh no. Okay, let's try that.
We're just having a couple issues tonight.
Is that better?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, and I don't hear myself on.
Okay, I think that's better. So yes, the hummingbird. A friend of mine, Pam. We were always talking about how we don't have this. Well, how different it is that I'm always interested in so many different things, and how it was seen as something negative, and why can't you stick to one thing? And so she sent me actually a podcast of Elizabeth Gilbert and Oprah Winfrey, and they were talking about jackhammers and hummingbirds. And Elizabeth Gilbert said that some people in the world will know that they know their purpose, they know what they want. And so, for example, like her, she's a writer, and she said, so she just goes for it. Oh, there's still an echo. Ooh.
What I'm going to do, Laura, is I'm going to get you to sign out and sign back in, and see if that helps.
Okay, perfect. Let's give that a bash.
So Laura will be right back. We will continue the conversation, and I do see the questions that are coming in, so I will get those out to Laura as soon as she comes back. We just want to make sure that it's a good recording so that you guys enjoyed the live episode as well, because with the high-pitched whine, I'm sure it is driving some of you guys crazy like it was us. So tonight we are talking with Laura Yates, and she's coming in from Singapore, and she's talking about the Hummingbird Life and her journey and that as well. Some retreats that she has, some good stuff, all of that good stuff. If you check out her website at thehummingbbirdlife.com, you can check out and see what she has coming up. Tonight, we're also going to be talking about what she offers for services. We've already spoken about her tea a little bit. So her tea tonight is Sharing the Nectar of Life, Nature Lover, and Joy Uniter. That is the tea that we are serving tonight in the house. For all you guys that are tuning in for the first time, if you haven't followed Miss Liz's YouTube channel, give that a good quick subscribe and give that a follow. Pass these tea times out, because they do make a difference for the guest and for people that are listening for these conversations, because each conversation brings a different type of tea. If you guys have any questions or anything and you'd like to find out more, you can follow Miss Liz. As you see across the bottom of the screen, I have my website there as well. And we're just going to pop Laura back in here, and we're going to continue where we left off. We're just going to make sure she's signing on. It's early morning over there in Singapore, so it could be birds in the background. We're not sure what's going on, but we're going to try and make this as enjoyable as we can for all of you guys that are tuning in. I do appreciate all of you new tuners that are tuning in and following Miss Liz. Without you guys, I could not do this. So thank you for the support. And thank you for the comments, because they do help. I will pop up those questions as soon as Laura gets back in here, and we will continue with this tea. Some of the retreats that we're going to be talking about tonight are going to be in Sri Lanka, Glastonbury, and South Africa. So we're going to be talking about those as well. Let me get Laura in here. Laura, is that better for you?
Much better. Is that better for you?
That is really good for me
Earpods
now.
in. Okay, sorry about that.
Sometimes we have technical issues, and I just try to get you guys in and out and back in so we can have a good conversation. So while you were gone, we had a couple of questions that came in for you, Laura. So we'll get those out to you. I'm just going to pop up this first one, and it said, "How did Laura first realize she was experiencing burnout?"
So I was in a corporate role. I was in an investment bank. I'm actually a chartered accountant by profession. And the first really was my physical body. I actually lost a lot of weight, which was a bonus, but not a cool way. But the big thing was my anxiety level increased significantly and my behavior changed at work. I just actually could not function anymore. The more I slept, I thought I was tired, so I slept. I woke up tired. My entire demeanor changed, and I think the biggest thing was this level of exhaustion that just wouldn't go away with sleep. And my health started to take a real toll. And the reason, and I think with that was just I am quite a perfectionist and an A-type personality, and I put a lot of pressure on myself at work. And an investment bank is often that. And so the first almost layer of burnout that I had, I've had numerous burnouts, but learned my lesson the hard way. But I think that was, the first was these physical symptoms. And for me, the biggest highlight was continuing to sleep and still waking up tired and still being exhausted. That was probably like the biggest trigger for me. And my behavior changed.
So the next question we have for you that came in is, what was the turning point that changed everything for you?
I've had so many turning points. But honestly, I almost think my mental health, anxiety and burnout, depression were my biggest ways of actually finally taking a change. And I'd suffered from my mental health issues and anxiety for quite a long time. And what I always did is I would struggle with it, and then I would pull myself away, and I'd come back to yoga or work, some way of actually helping myself. But they were like little plugins. And in 2013, I ended up in a psychiatric hospital for 3 weeks with serious anxiety, burnout, and depression. I was suicidal. It was not a good place, actually, but the clinic was really, really good for me. And that was a big turning point. I realized something had to change. So I really changed a lot in my career and my lifestyle. And then saying that, again in 2018, I was relying on alcohol a lot. So even then, 2013, I had that burnout. It was a turning point for me, but almost not enough. I just got pumped with medication and misdiagnosed with bipolar. When meantime, that wasn't what I had. And eventually, I then about 4 years later, I was relying on alcohol plus a lot of medication, and I actually was driving on a very rural road, and I had a drunken driving car accident, and that was the biggest turning point. So, the good thing was I was alone, but it was that realization. When I was lying in bed the next day, my thought was, if I had been on a public road, I could have killed myself. I could have killed someone else. That was like and I was like, I could never be responsible for something. But my next thought was, but why didn't I die? Why am I still alive? And that was my biggest turning point, my point of sobriety, but also of literally I felt like it was the universe smacking me on the head in a car accident to actually go, something has to change. And that's when I probably think, most of the transformation happened after that. Real kick in the butt.
So, Laura, did you find that alcohol was something that you could turn to, because you had mentioned your father was an alcoholic? Is it because of the upbringing?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. I mean, I think my siblings are quite fine. I'm the dysfunctional one. But I mean, there is a genetic part in it. But I have got that kind of addictive personality. And for me, it was two reasons I probably drank. One was social anxiety. I was very misaligned in my corporate career. And so just being in those, like if it was a networking event or something like that, I felt I needed a crutch in order for people to see the happy me. And so that was one of my crutches, because I felt so misaligned. Even talking to some of the people there, I was like, these are not my people. That and the influence of seeing like, I definitely think my dad had an influence on me going, okay, well, that is a way to cope. And so it was a real place to fall back, something to fall back on with me. And also I think just it was really difficult when I actually did become sober, because most of the people we hang around with, I mean, it's not just South Africans, but there are a lot of people that the drinking culture can be big, especially I think in my generation. I'm almost 46, and for us it was like, well, why aren't you drinking? Are you pregnant? What's wrong? Why are you still not drinking? So yeah, unfortunately, I think it was a big realization for me to go, okay, this is there is a hereditary part, but also I can't blame that. I also have my own reasons for drinking, and I needed to acknowledge those things.
Well, and society tells us, right? If we're not partying, we're not drinking, we're not doing drugs, we're a party pooper, right? We're not
a teetotaler.
Right? we like to ruin the party, right? Because we're sober, or we would like a glass of pop instead of a glass of wine. You know, I really wish society would change the way that it perceives having a good time, besides getting drunk or getting, having drugs or anything like that.
And there are so many ways to have a good time without it. I feel like I'm more joyful and happy now than I ever was.
Well, that goes on to the question that we just had. And it came in and it says, what does joy as a practice look like daily for you, Laura?
Oh, yeah, Olivia, that's a great question. For me, my answer always comes down to nature, to be honest. And one of my biggest things, joy as a practice for me is, for one, having a dance party, even if it's like a one-song dance party in my own home and in my bedroom. For me, music, and whatever kind of music floats your boat, music and movement are two of the most healing practices that any of us can actually connect to. And it's whatever movement works. But I mean, dance, even if we can't dance, it might be just rolling around on the floor or swaying on on 2 feet. And added to that, I find just being outdoors and noticing the little things in nature with the curiosity of a child is one of the most joyful things, because I'm just like, wow, isn't that little spiral incredible? Or look at that tiny bud as we come into spring. These things, it's seeing nature as something which it is so miraculous, but so obvious, and it's right in front of us.
Right? It's the simple things, right? It's right in front of us, but we just don't pay attention. We close our eyes to it, right?
Yeah. And it's not, and I think, sorry, one more thing is just that it's not even, I think we're always looking for joy outside of ourselves. And that's it. No one else can give it to us. No one else. I think maybe the only external thing is nature, but actually we are nature. Yeah. And it's actually about finding that within ourselves, rather than finding someone else or something else, even for me, like alcohol, to find the joy.
Yeah. Well, it kind of goes into this question that came in from Richard. How do you start reconnecting with yourself?
Breath. Honestly, I think mindfulness meditation was probably one of my biggest ways of coming back to myself. And the reason was I learned the neuroscience behind it. So it wasn't all just woo-woo. It was actually like, oh, there's scientific proof around this. And so for me, I really think it is about giving yourself time and space. And that might mean whether it is a meditation or even just going to sit under a tree. And the hardest thing is, the moment we give ourselves time and space, we then have to sit with our feelings. And that's when most of us would rather stay busy, because the moment we are silent and quiet, everything comes up in our mind. And for me, I'm not saying meditation is the key for everyone, but it's a prime example. People say to me, but isn't meditation, aren't you supposed to still your mind? And I'm saying, no, the mind is meant to be busy. That's a misconception. But if we can just be the witnesses of that rather than jumping down it and getting taken down this rabbit hole of what our thoughts are or our feelings, what if we could just sit and hold ourselves like a little child? Yeah, just sit and play. Play.
Well,
and
and again, that's why I asked that question when we first started, right? Who you were as a little girl and who you are now, because and you brought it together. Same as like this afternoon's conversation. We're still one. We're just aging. We're just finding the wisdom, finding new tools and tips to get through life like everyone else. I want to talk to you about some of the services that you offer in that as well, Laura, because I went and did my homework, and I want to talk about this dancing. Like, I want to talk about the dance. Where did I find? We're in my notes here. What do we got here? Oh, the deep dance journey. What is that about?
Oh, it's so much fun. So actually, I can't take all the credit for this. I have two amazing friends in South Africa who created something called Secret Sunrise. And the idea was, so definitely please look them up. And they were one of the primary ways of me finding myself back to music and movement. And what we did was we used wireless headsets, and we would dance sober at sunrise and out in nature. Because we're using wireless headsets, we could be anywhere in the, outdoors. And from that, so I actually started something called Secret Sunrise. I brought it over to Singapore, and the deep dance journeys are a culmination of what I learned from them, but also my 20 years of facilitation and dance in my own way. And the idea is simple, is we are made to move. We are made to be in nature, and music is one of the best medicines that we can have. And so I use wireless headsets, and the main reason is because I do it outdoors, and that just in itself is healing. We can do it in the trees, and whether it's sunrise, sunset, middle of the day, at night under the full moon. And these deep dance journeys is essentially, I curate a playlist and I facilitate. So I take people on this beautiful journey, and we actually start by sitting quietly or lying down on the lawn, looking up at the stars if it's at night, and really just connecting then back to our breath and to ourselves. And I usually take people through an imaginative journey. And as we go through, can we bring this imagination of, oh, you're walking through a forest, and we start bringing in the curiosity and imagination of a child into our own physical movements. And the way I facilitate then is to bring those two together, that we start actually physically moving our bodies as we go through this journey. And also part of, if you think of the journey of life, we're always going to have some ups and downs. So in this dance journey, there will be music available for us to have some sacred rage and scream and shout. The wonderful thing is you've got headsets on and you can sing out loud, and no one else around you is hearing you. And so there's that idea of let's give space for our feelings to be felt. And if we want to cry, let's cry. And the music and the movement and being in nature helps to bring that up. It helps to just that's where the healing comes. And then eventually we come down into, once we can release what's holding us like this, that's when we find the joy and the beauty. And once we let go of those emotions and actually let them flow, we can come back to our own hearts. And that's actually what the entire deep journey is about. And then we come back to a place of stillness, but in a very different way from the way we started. And that's a really, just naturally, we automatically come back to a place of deep gratitude for ourselves and just being in nature. So music, movement, and nature, I think 3 of the most powerful medicines in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when I seen that, I was just like, and then you were explaining in the sunrise, like that's a beautiful way to start your day, right?
Absolutely.
Get a little wiggle in there and the movement, and then close your eyes, feel the music. You know, even
Yeah.
before you have a cup of coffee, like just get out and dance.
Exactly. And you know what the thing is with sunrises is there's such a liminal space. And there really is this magic in that pause between dark and light. So even it's so symbolic of as we're moving from dark to light and embracing both our shadow and our light side. So there's so much symbolism in the sunrise and the sunset. But as an early bird, I feel like because also we haven't had the day to get the thoughts in and the chaos. We're waking up and we can step into ourselves, and we're still a little bit in that alpha. I never know the brainwaves. You know,
alpha or the REM, or they call it the
yeah,
REM.
yeah. So we're still a little bit in that, and we ease into it slowly. One of those. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we have some more questions coming in the studio. I just want to get those out to you. What inspired the Hummingbird Life concept?
So actually, before we were having the tech,
birds were coming in, and the noise
coming in. So the hummingbird basically came when a friend of mine sent me this podcast, and Elizabeth Gilbert was like, "There are jackhammers in the world, and there are hummingbirds." And she said that jackhammers are like, "I know my purpose." So she said, "I'm a writer. Blah, 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 blah. You know, I will focus on being a writer for my entire life." And then she said, and then she realized there are hummingbirds. There are people that don't stick to one thing, and they fly like a hummingbird from flower to flower, sharing the sweet nectar of life. And for me, it was permission. I went, called my friend up. I'm like, "I'm a hummingbird. There's nothing wrong with me."
It's the hummingbird.
I was like, oh. And then I delved deeper. So for me, it was just, I have permission to be me. I have permission to try new things and not feel guilty about it or feel like there's something wrong with jumping from one thing to another. And it's purely because I'm excited to live on this life, in this earth. And there are so many things to try. Why would we stick to one thing when there's so many things to try in the world? And that then evolved into, I started looking more into, and ironically, it was at the same time I just got back from Costa Rica and had experienced hummingbirds for the first time in my life, because we don't have them in South Africa or in Singapore. And so I then delved deeper into like the spirit animal of the hummingbird. And there were these little things like the hummingbird is tiny, tiny. And so am I. And that's always been something that I've seen as something that goes against me. "Oh, Laura, you're so little. Dynamite comes in small packages." All of these words that, you know, and
boom, here she comes.
Exactly. And then I was like, this tiny little hummingbird, do you know how fierce and resilient they are? And I was like, damn, this is amazing. The hummingbird, and layers. She flies from the north to the south of America and trusts in nature to sustain her. And she has this deep, deep trust in nature and the trust in herself, these tiny little wings. And she's fierce. She's fierce, but beautiful, and shares the sweet, sweet nectar of life. And I was just, so many layers so the Hummingbird Life, it actually started as the dance of the hummingbird. And which, you know, just meant a lot for me. And it started as a blog. And in my travels, in my spiritual travels, particularly to India and some other places, I would just write down my thoughts and feelings. And the blog is still called The Dance of the Hummingbird. I don't write so much anymore, to be honest. But for me, the hummingbird just encapsulates everything, permission to be me in all aspects. Yeah.
You know, we're going to look at hummingbirds differently after tonight's tea time.
Yes, especially when you're
love that hummingbird gave permission to be yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And they come in so many different colors and flows, and they change when they move, like the movement and the body. And I can see how that could be like a dance, the bird dancing.
Yeah. And there's even this idea of stillness and motion. They sit there and they do this, but they can be so still. And so with the chaos of the world around us, can we find our own stillness? They can teach us so much, so much.
Absolutely. And it kind of goes into the question that just came in from Rochelle. How do you stay consistent with mindfulness practices?
Oh, I'll be honest with you, it's a struggle for me. So even as someone who teaches it, I'm like, whoa, I really need to practice what I preach more. It is tricky because life gets away with us. But one of my meditation teachers always said, if you don't have time for meditation, it means you need more than 10 minutes. But if you have time, you only need 5 minutes. And this is true. Honestly, it's really is about, I put some time in my diary every day. And one thing my husband and I actually do is in the morning when we're having our cup of tea, we use an app called Inside Timer. And actually, some of my recordings are on there. Yeah, it's a free app. There is a premium version, but it's got so many mindfulness practices. And you can even choose morning motivation or help me to sleep, all of these different things. And my recordings are on there, but we don't listen to mine because my husband and I can't hear my voice in a meditation.
That's my wife. I can't do it.
Yes, like she's nagging at me already. I don't need to listen to her in my meditation. But honestly, we go 5 minutes, like choose a 5 or 10 minute meditation. And while the tea is still a little bit too hot to drink, we stay in bed and we just sit up and we do that for 5 minutes. And I would say, it doesn't have to be some elaborate thing. It's even, can your meditation be, can you walk without looking at your phone and or listening to music? Can you just go for a walk? That's already a mindfulness practice. Mindfulness practices really are just about being present in that moment and seeing things without judgment. So I would say, if it's a little thing that you can do by taking a 5-minute break and going to sit under a tree. But how I stay consistent, honestly, it's a discipline. I have changed the word from discipline to devotion. And it's about because discipline for me then makes me want to be rebellious and go against it. Whereas devotion, and I'm like, devotion only to myself. I'm like, can I devote 5 minutes to myself today? And it's part of my self-care and just being kind to myself. I know I'm a better person if I'm practicing mindfulness. So it's being kind to myself. And in return, I'm going to be a nicer person to everyone else that I meet in the world. Yeah. But it's changing it.
Yeah. And it kind of goes into the next question that came in from Ariel. How do you balance work and inner peace?
You know what I've decided.
Do you balance or are you like the scales here, the scales there?
This is exactly. So actually, my theory in the world is that there's no such thing as balance, but we have harmony. And unfortunately it is, if you think of a what are these things called? Seesaw. Yeah. You know, if you and someone else are sitting on the seesaw, even on its own, will never just stay like this. It's always like this, right? And that is life. So can we go about just being more compassionate with ourselves and actually seeing that life, like the waves, that we have our ebbs and flows. If we can have these tiny little moments, then yes, maybe we have a little bit more harmony on a weekend or when we're on holiday. And we do need to bring in these little acts of devotion or discipline into our everyday. But for me, it's more about being compassionate with ourselves. The harder we are on ourselves about trying to find balance, the more we're going to rebel against it. And so it's actually being more accepting of, okay, work is going to be like this right now. So then how can I bookend my day just with a little bit to help support that? Yeah. And so I would say, my thing is there's no such thing as balance. There's only harmony. And can we go, even the seasons teach us that. You can't have winter without summer. And spring
you can have
without
it mixed
autumn.
when Mother Nature decides that she wants winter and summer. One day you got green grass, the next day you got snow, like here in Canada.
Oh, there you go. And you know what? But even that. So one day changes to the next. Even Mother Nature's going, well, she's never equal.
Never balanced. There's no balance.
No, there's always one or the other. And that's even what I go into with the divine feminine and the divine masculine is we need both. We need that creativity and we need action. And there's a different time and space and a different season for each of these. Everything that we need to do. Yeah.
I like that. And I like that you've changed words, because we can change anything we want. We have a choice to make a choice and to change, right? And I like that you took in the word discipline to devotion, because discipline for me, I feel like I'm like a drill sergeant. Like I got to get it done. Like it better get done. It's kind of like an order to yourself, right? Where devotion is, can I give myself grace? Can I take a pause? Can I take a minute for myself? I like that you changed that. And for all the listeners out there, you know, have you ever changed your words or the way that you've looked at things? Was there a belief that you believed about yourself, Laura, that you do not believe in it anymore today?
Yes. My biggest one was that there was a horrible monster inside me. I have a very short temper, and I can actually be quite a biatch, if I can say that word. And I always thought I was a very horrible, horrible person. And sometimes that belief comes back a little bit. And I've realized, though, it's when my boundaries have been crossed and I'm not looking after myself.
Oh.
And I think the biggest thing was realizing that when I felt unsafe and when, mainly when I felt unsafe, this monster inside me would come out and be, everyone, beep off, leave me alone. And I would create further boundaries. And it was my way of protecting myself. And I always used to call it the monster. And I think I've done a lot of inner work and a lot of, maybe some people in the psychological background would call it your shadow. I've done a lot of work on going, okay, but so how do you serve me? How does this monster serve me? And this monster comes up when I say I need a break, or my work-life balance is not, my harmony has been compromised. And I think that's what's changed, is I've really changed the narrative around, this is not a monster inside me. It's actually just a really big indicator of what my needs are and when they come up. Yeah.
Well, growing up in an environment where there is no structure and stuff like that, right? There's monsters around us all the time, or shadows around us, or, you know, that darkness. So that creeps in once in a while when we get overwhelmed or too much on the plate, or, you know, and that's why I wanted to have you, Laura, because I wanted to understand, like, you're in Singapore, I'm in Canada. We all struggle with mental health. We all struggle with addictions and stuff like that around the globe. And that's why we have international guests on Teatime, because we want to share that it's not just Canada, United States that are suffering with these things. It's across the globe, you know, and we really need to start supporting one another in different countries and different areas, and say, you know what, this works for me. This might not work for me. You know, like the dance, the deep dance. When's the last time anybody's went dancing? Right?
Sober.
Sober on top of that. And in the morning. So maybe that's a new routine that we can all put in place, right? These are things. But I want to talk about some of the retreats that you offer and stuff as well, because you have some really cool retreats coming. And I got some dates as well. So events coming up are March 31st, April 16th, and July 22nd to the 27th. So the first one is the deep dance on March 31st. Do you want to share a little bit about that one?
Yeah, so it is in Singapore, but I'm actually starting to think I should do some more online offerings, because like you say, I've got a beautiful community here, but often people leave Singapore, and it's really beautiful for us it can be lonely for us, especially if we move countries, and for anyone. And for me, I really think that if we can know, like you said, that we're not alone, and across the world, we can connect to a community. Why don't I facilitate these with, when you can put your headsets on and you can take yourself through a journey in your own home or in your own garden. So yeah, so the one on the 31st is here in Singapore. But watch the space. I think some nice online offerings are going to come up.
Oh, I like it. I like it. I might just become a morning person.
There you go. Actually, it might work for you. If I do one in the morning, it works for you in the afternoon, evening. So you see, your time zone might work for you.
There we go. I could just put it in my mind that I am in Singapore doing it in the morning routine.
Yeah.
You know, just imagine that you're in a different country, you know, doing the sway, doing waves and
palm trees.
Absolutely, right? Well, the second one I have here is April 16th, and that's the Which one is that one?
Cacao ceremony.
Yes. What is that about?
Oh, cacao is such beautiful medicine. So, how much time do we have?
Oh, we got lots of time.
Okay, so cacao. I've really delved into. I've got a very long-standing relationship with cacao as pure medicine. So cacao coming from the cocoa like the pod from the cacao tree, and it's eventually, you know, a lot of people will basically split the cacao, put it into a process and make chocolate. But in its most pure form, it has a lot of medicinal properties, but the main one actually is theobromine, and that actually can help us drop from our head to our heart and into a meditative state, but in a physical way. And many people, I think it's really important. I just want to do a little caveat here from the ethics of it, is a lot of people are jumping on this bandwagon about cacao ceremonies. And there are a lot of people, elders in Central America and in South America, that have been using this cacao as medicine and seeing her as revered as a sacred plant for centuries. And they have carried this beautiful tradition. The modern cacao ceremonies are not what was before. But a lot of people like myself, I have learned from some really beautiful elders in Peru of how to really revere this plant and use and commune with her as a sacred ally. And so what I do with the cacao ceremonies is I bring her in as a way for us. So we basically sit in a beautiful circle. I spend about 3 hours dancing around my kitchen before preparing and brewing. So basically melting this pure cacao paste down and then making it into a nice drink. So it's like, but she's super bitter because it's most pure form. Add a little bit of honey, and then I hold people in a very sacred space where we sip the cacao in a mindful way. And again, I bring in, because music and movement is my medicine, I bring in music and guidance for people to just start bringing in their intentions, feeling their bodies, and starting to connect to their bodies as the cacao starts moving through them. And the fascinating thing about cacao, it can take us to, it's not hallucinogenic, which is why I can use it in Singapore, but it can actually, with a combination of music and movement, it can take us to almost a different state. And what I mean by that is, once we start moving and cacao moves through us, we can get into a meditative state a lot quicker. And it's phenomenal. I could honestly go on forever about cacao. She's taught me so much over the years, and actually cacao was one of the things that helped me with my sobriety, because it was a way of me connecting back to earth, back to nature, and finding something that actually was beautiful, but that could help me too at the same time. And yeah, so these cacao ceremonies, I then help people go through a bit of movement, and then we go through a meditative journey. And it's quite phenomenal what comes up. It's a because theobromine actually helps to pump blood to our hearts, it can be a really beautiful emotional release. And this really helps people to go through. It's a 3-hour ceremony actually that I take people through, but it's exceptionally healing. And I don't even know how to. For me, I always say, people are like, what is a cacao ceremony? I'm like, you have to come try one to know what it is. But there are so many in the world, and I just want to say that as a caveat. There are so many, and some are doing it beautifully, some are jumping on the wellness fad of it. So I always say to people, anyone listening, just trust your gut and trust your intuition of if you see cacao ceremonies happening. Maybe also just look at where the people are getting the cacao from, what variety it is. These are really important things. Is it sustainably sourced? Do they know about it? And what lineage have they actually been taught by people that have given them permission to use cacao in ceremony? Yeah.
And the reason that I wanted to get that information out there is because there was a lot of misinformation about these ceremonies, and go, and that's why in the disclaimer, go to people that are actually trained in these events and stuff.
100%.
And the next one you have coming up is in July. It's a retreat from the 22nd to the 27th. Do you want to tell us about that one?
Yes, I'm so excited about that one. So it's in Glastonbury in the UK, and most people think Glastonbury like, oh, the festival, you know, the famous Glastonbury Music Festival. But there's so much more to Glastonbury than that. So Glastonbury town lies on ley lines, which are, you know, energetic. I don't know if I should need to explain ley lines, but basically they're the energetic lines that cross the world. Some people call them dragon lines, song lines. It depends on what culture you're in. And this crossing is it is said that the heart chakra of the world, of the earth, is in Glastonbury. So these ley lines are seen as quite a powerful vortex. And Glastonbury itself actually stems back to a place of pilgrimage all the way back to through Christian times, for pagans, for Moors, for a number of different spiritual seekers. And so it's steeped in history and layers. It's got a beautiful abbey ruins. It's there's actually the holy thorn, which is said to have come from Jesus' crown, I think, grows there. And it's almost this beautiful harmony of religions and spiritual seekers. And within this place, there are these sacred wells. And the well springs are known especially in a lot of pagan or Celtic or earth-based practices. Wells are known as portals to the earth. They are known as the womb of Mother Earth, and a way for us to connect to her. And sacred wells, as you know, like holy water, sacred wells have been something that water is so healing for us. And in Glastonbury, there are these two wells. One is called the Chalice Well, and the other one is called the White Spring. And the White Spring, we can go through a beautiful ritual, and you can bathe in this White Spring. It's magnificent. And for me, I go on pilgrimage there probably every 2 years to Glastonbury on my own. And I've had some profound experiences there, very otherworldly. And just, it's been incredible to see how the breadcrumbs of synchronicity have come into my life whenever I've been there. Also, you walk down the street and it feels like you're in Harry Potter. It's like Diagon Alley.
That's what I asked you before we went live, right? I was just like, is that a Harry Potter kind of land?
Honestly, there's a crystal shop, there's an incense shop, there's it honestly, and there's someone walking down there in a wizard costume. It's a place where everyone has permission to be themselves. And that's what I think is so beautiful. Buskers on the street, and it's a really magical place, but very steeped in sacred sites and powerful portals. And this is what my plan is I'm excited because I've gone there in pilgrimage so many times. I want to share it with the world. And so I'm taking people on a 5-night, 6-day retreat, and then bookending it. There might be, like, if anyone wants to go to Avebury or Stonehenge, some of the other sacred sites nearby, I can give advice on how to do that. So yeah, so think about, like, and again, we're actually staying in a place for 3 of the nights that has their own stone circle. So we're going to put the headsets on and dance in the stone circle around a fire and bring back the witches. Bring back the power of the woo-woo in nature. Yeah.
I love it. And so if anybody would like to sign up, is that for women only? Is it for men? Is there a certain
it is
age?
at the moment. No, any age. Well, I just wouldn't assume any teenagers would come, or kids. So maybe I'll say over 18. But yeah, and it is at the moment, it is a woman-only retreat. But I think if I do hold any in the future, I think I will open up to anyone. Yeah. And the main reason is because we actually bathe naked in the well. Yeah.
Well, that's going back to Mother Nature, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Our bathing suits, our real bathing suits, not clothes.
Correct. Yeah, so all the details are there on my website, and you can also through that connect with me and ask any questions. Yeah,
absolutely. And this is what I love. I love learning so much from all of my guests. Like, I learned so much with your teas and the work and services that you guys offer, you know, and connecting through different continents and countries and that as well. We learn a little bit from there. The services that you also offer are private consultations. You do the women's circles. Let's talk about the women's circles really quick.
So those are actually, again, I actually hold them in Singapore. And the reason this was a real like download aha moment that I actually had in Glastonbury, funnily enough, back in 2022. And it was, I did a meditation and I actually saw a whole bunch of women in red coming towards me up a hill. This was before I went to Glastonbury. I got to Glastonbury and here I was on the top of the Glastonbury Tor, which is a very sacred site, at sunrise, drinking my cacao, doing my thing on my own. Next thing I turn and a whole group of women in red robes started walking up the hill. And I went, what? This is exactly how my dream. I was like, am I on something? But and basically they were all on their own pilgrimage in this divine feminine retreat. And they invited us all to come in and we all sang and held hands and danced. And at sunrise, it was magnificent. And for me, it was that I was like, this is what we need to come back to, that real divine feminine essence, and that where we can be raw and real and apologetic. And I've noticed, not just in Singapore, there are so many women, especially going from their late 30s into 40s, 50s, where we start questioning our identity. We start looking at life in a different way. And it can be a very lonely path. It can be really lonely to be like, well, will my friends who I used to know understand the questions I'm asking, and maybe, you know, maybe I'm going on a new journey. And so it was very clear. I had this real image of just a group of women dancing around a fire together. Not that we can have fires in the parks here, but the idea was, can we get, like, I need to create a chance for people to come and feel what it feels like to be in a sisterhood. And so we meet every month, and we sit and we meet outdoors and in a park called Fort Canning here in Singapore, and we sit under the trees and we chat. So first, it's a really beautiful share. Everyone talks about what's happening, and others can give either whether it's advice or even just I see you and I hear you and I've been through this too, so you know that you're not alone. And then I usually will share, and then usually I will share something that's a really like a practice, a meditation, or we dance, or we do something that I share some of my medicine. And then what we also do is we have something called the Wheel of the Year, and we celebrate the equinoxes, the solstices, and the turning of the seasons. And so we gather, the same group of women, we gather at my house, and we all bring potluck, and we go back to, so we bring a potluck dinner, and we go back to the old ways of weaving and crafting. And so I bring in a seasonal theme. So for example, we just had the spring equinox, and we made candles out of eggshells. So yeah, so we have these little gatherings of women just coming back to celebrating nature and celebrating seasons. And again, I'm actually in about 2 months' time about to launch the online version of that, because once again, I mean, it's wonderful. For me, the raw and real human connection is so essential, but some of us don't have that opportunity. Yeah. And so I really want to spread that. And it's important for people to, I really think, not just women, but for everyone to go through. We're not alone. And the more we speak up, when I spoke up about my mental health and started writing my blog, I was surprised how many people then responded to me saying, Laura, I'm so glad you shared this. I have been through this, this, and this. And I just realized the more we actually share, the more others realize that they're not alone. And for me, that's part of what the women's circles are about. Yeah.
And that's kind of what Teatime is all about, right? When we get the stories out there, we get the services and books and all that good stuff out there, but just having that open conversation and getting to know a person from across the globe, like, you know, or across the street. I've had people that live in my own community on Teatime. You know, it's just sharing the story and knowing that you're not alone. And that's what mental health is really awareness about, is sharing the stories and having somebody come up to you and saying, you know what, thank you for sharing your story because it made a difference in my story. Exactly. You know? And I love that you said that I see you and I hear you. What final message would you have for everybody tonight on Teatime?
I think be gentle on yourself. and be compassionate with yourself. We are so hard on ourselves with trying to fit in and survive. And actually, if you can just give yourself a moment to hug that little child inside, girl or boy or whoever, hug that little child inside and spend some time in nature and just realize that you are a child of the earth. And the more you can speak up, even if it's just with one person, it can make the world of difference if you're feeling alone. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you for joining me tonight on Tea Time. Thank you to all the listeners and viewers out there. We couldn't do this if we didn't all work together. So, you know, Miss Liz is not alone because I have my tea and me, which makes an amazing team of people out there in the world. So thank you all for joining me. Just going to do a little wrap up of what tonight's Tea Time was. What a deeply grounded and beautiful conversation. Laura, thank you for reminding us that healing does not always come from doing more. Sometimes it comes from slowing down enough to feel what has been waiting to be acknowledged. Tonight, we were reminded that the body holds wisdom, that connection begins within, and that true transformation happens when we allow ourselves to be present, not perfect. Your work shows up. It shows us that the aliveness is not something we chase. It is something we return to. To everyone listening, here is something to carry with you after this tea time. When was the last time you truly paused, felt your breath, and listened to what your body has been trying to tell you? Until our next cup, keep sharing, keep choosing presence, keep choosing connection, and keep finding your way to yourself. And I'll see everybody tomorrow with a rescheduled tea time at 7 p.m. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m.